Bryce Young just got benched by the Carolina Panthers. The 49ers lost out to the Vikings, and the Cowboys, well, they did what the Cowboys do best. All that and more here at the Gridiron. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron, brought to you by House Call Sports. I'm Justin, and I'm here with our founder, Rob, as we talk to you about Week 2 NFL action. Before we get down to it, a quick word from our sponsors over at Vivid Seats, the most trustworthy and easy-to-navigate ticketing website that has reliable and rewarding tickets, along with a 100% buyer guarantee, which means your transactions will always be safe and secure. You get full customer service care and be compensated for any canceled events. And it's got the only ticket rewards program around. I personally got my tickets for Vivid Seats. I am, unfortunately, as a Giants fan, going to see them against the Cowboys and the Eagles this week. But if you're like me and don't want to see your NFL team lose, they got everything you need. You want NBA, which is coming up, NHL coming up. We're close to the MLB playoffs. So go hit the description down below. Get your tickets with Vivid Seats and go sit vividly. Rob, we got a lot to talk about. And I didn't think we'd have to talk about it this early, but the Carolina Panthers kind of got a bit of a quarterback controversy going on as head coach Dave Canales announced that Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick last year, has been benched. And now we got the Red Rifle Andy Dalton coming back to the field to take the stage against the Raiders next week. And I don't know how I feel about this because you have a former number 1 overall pick. You brought in a head coach specifically to mold this quarterback to hopefully improve on the disaster that was last year when he was a rookie. So, Rob, what do you think about this? Is this a good move, or is the Carolina Panthers failing this kid?
It's a mixture of both because, first of all, I think Canales, wherever he goes, he knows how to make a quarterback work. So if he feels like Bryce Young needs to be benched, it's not an indictment on the kid. Maybe he's just not ready. What did Tom Brady say leading up until the season? He actually is in favor of like quarterbacks actually sitting and learning the game. You got the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes. The list goes on. We've had this conversation many times in these episodes. But, I mean, they have one of the worst offensive lines. They have one of the most impatient owners in Tepper. And I just don't think their talent on the roster is that great to begin with. So with all that being said, you have a situation where you have one of the worst starts to at least a minimum of 15 games into their career. Deshaun Kaiser and Chris Weinke are the only ones with a worse winning percentage than him. His stats are 29th in QBR, 30th in completion percentage, 30th in yards per attempt, and 30th in win-loss percentage. But here's the thing, though. If you don't surround him with the talent, if you don't actually back your quarterback, you get situations like the Mac Jones situation with Bill Belichick, the current situation with Bryce Young. But then you get situations where you got Sam Darnold, which we're going to lament to later on, where you actually give a guy a chance, and maybe they pop off, or Geno Smith. We've seen this. It doesn't all just – it's puzzle pieces. You got to put the puzzle pieces together first before you can complete the puzzle. And if you don't give all the pieces necessary to help that player or that person flourish, it can all go downhill from there.
You're absolutely right. And I was just looking up some stats on Bryce Young. So far this season, first of all, the one thing that it's truly remarkable how this was even possible. The man completed 18 passes this past week against the Chargers, and yet only threw for 84 yards, which I don't even know how you can do that. But going into the first 2 games of the season, he has 245 passing yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a quarterback rating at 44.1, and a completion percentage at 55.4%. So it's obvious that something had to be changed. And while I get people are going up in arms and saying, like, why are you benching your franchise quarterback, your young franchise quarterback in 2 games? I do also believe that this is a good thing. And I have been on this show numerous times saying young quarterbacks need to sit for at least 1 to 2 years. It's worked so far with the Packers. It has worked for other teams. Even Justin Herbert with the Chargers, he sat, even though it was like maybe 2-3 games, but it actually helps you out because he doesn't have to worry about the pressure of playing in the NFL or performing on the field when you have nothing going on around you. Sit back, break down film, just study, learn the quarterback position. And in the long run, it's going to work. You talked about, we just finished talking about the Minnesota Vikings with this kid who, if I'm being honest, the Jets seem to be failing quarterbacks left and right, but I digress on that one. But he's showing to actually play a lot better under Minnesota than what he did in New York.
Kevin O'Connell has a lot of faith in him, man. He got really emotional at the post game. I know you saw it on the House Call Instagram. We posted it.
Yep.
Look, it just takes a little bit of faith in your quarterback. Yes, he didn't look great that game. Well, I know we'll talk about it, but if you just have enough faith, they'll make the right throws. But like it goes to show you, you can't just throw quarterbacks out there. You go look at the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams on pace for 0 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 8.5 fumbles, and 76.5 sacks. You don't throw him out there. Even with all that talent that they have, the game, people don't understand the windows and the margin of error at the NFL level is so much smaller. And now it seems like the defenses are starting to catch up. I mean, look at this pass. Gardner Minshew is only quarterback to pass for 250 yards 2 consecutive weeks in a row. He's actually second in the NFL right now in passing yards. That's mind-blowing. But that goes to show you that, like, the times change as well as the adaptability of how you have to assess how your quarterback is every year. But, like, it seems like the ongoing consensus every year, you need to, if you have a rookie quarterback, let them sit. The Patriots, Jacoby Brissett is not QB1, but look what they're doing with him, and it will pay off in the long end.
But I want to go back to one thing, and I want to ask you about this because you touched about this quarterback class, specifically Caleb Williams. I think if we're going to go into the future 5 years, I think Drake May is going to be the best quarterback out of all of them.
I don't think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be close.
I want to bring it back to the Carolina Panthers because after the game in week 2, like right after in the post-game press conference, Canales did say that Bryce Young was still the quarterback, and then we got this change. Is it really a Canales decision, or do we think this is more of a front office ownership decision?
I don't know, man. At the end of the day, Tepper just seems to kind of be like the most impatient owner. He just wants immediate satisfaction. That roster has been rebuilt. I mean, you didn't have a first round. You would have had the first overall pick if you didn't trade it away to the Panthers. I mean, look, Daniel Jones is about to have his 65th NFL start this Sunday. How are we going to bench a guy, or now we're going to bench him after 18 games? Like, literally, this is what you need to do. I get the benching, but they should have done that in the first place. This roster wasn't ready-made. I mean, go look at what the Patriots are doing right now. I hate to keep talking about them, but it's just obvious. The offensive line's not great. Very similar positions in that. I would say just about the same as far as the receiving core. It's just it's a matter of like patience versus impatience, and I just think that like you have to really exercise the most patience because the NFL game versus the college game is totally different.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Carolina Panthers do from here because Canales is on the first of a 6-year contract with the team. So we'll see. Is he going to be able to mold Bryce Young, or are they just like looking at it as like, let's get to the draft and then we get his quarterback of the future? But we did talk a little bit about the Minnesota Vikings, so we are going to transition over to that game as they pull an upset and actually defeat the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 23-17. And honestly, going off the raw numbers alone, you would think that both defenses decided to take a week off. You have over 800 yards of total offense between both teams at an average of 6 yards per play for the Niners and 7.5 for the Vikings. I want to say most of that was just in that huge touchdown catch by Justin Jefferson. So I got to ask you, because I've seen Minnesota and how their offense played against my Giants, but then again, it's my Giants. Are we sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings this year?
100%. 100%. I think, is Brian Flores there as a defensive coordinator?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, okay. So he was a hell of a defensive coordinator when he was with us. So it makes sense as to why they stifle teams. But I do have to say this. You're paid $35 million a year, and you register your first catch 5 minutes and 58 seconds left in the third quarter. 6 catches for 71 yards in 2 games is not worth $30+ million. How do you expect to win games if your first 4 possessions are punt, turnover, and downs? This is a team that I've been saying this, and I will say it again. It goes and it lives and breathes wherever CMC is. No slouch in Jordan Mason, but CMC is just a different animal, and it provides a different level because the guy can be in the receiving game, and you could line him up just about anywhere. By the way, Jordan Mason, I don't know how the hell the damn 49ers always do this to be able to pluck running backs, undrafted, by the way, and just be able to make it flow. Yeah, I don't know, man. You get a block punt and just like you're down 10-0 to start the game. You cannot start games like that, especially with supposedly this high-powered offense. And like I said, Brandon Ayuk, you're paid $30-something million, and you hadn't registered a catch until the end of the third quarter. Deebo Samuel actually looked like he deserves a new contract.
Yeah, and honestly, because I'm looking at all the stat lines right now, a lot of it also has to do with like pressure. Like Brock Purdy got sacked 6 times in this game, which you kind of have to expect from a Brian Flores-led defense in the Minnesota Vikings, because they will attack you and they will make you make mistakes. That's why Brock Purdy, even though he threw for 319 yards this game, still has that 1 interception on top of his 1 touchdown. But going over into the San Francisco 49ers, we've seen how they played last week. We've seen this performance this week where it's kind of like you saw them play up to their standard and you saw them drop below their standards. Where do they actually sit amongst this NFC conference? Like, are they still the team to beat, or do you think they're dropping little by little?
I think every team is just catching up, man. Like, at the end of the day, you've had this many years, and the formula eventually gets figured out. It really does. I'm not saying that they're not going to be a top echelon of the NFC. I'm saying that, like, the rest of the NFL, whether they're meddling or not, like, you had the Vikings that had done bad last year, so you get a higher draft pick, and you start to stock up on talent. The talent level, because you're having to pay $35 million to this guy, $30 million to this. And by the way, Brock Purdy's coming up for a contract too, so you're going to have to pay him too. So with all this money being assigned to your top talent, the rest of your roster starts to fall off because they're going elsewhere. They're going to be chasing money. So I'm not saying that they're not going to be great. I still think that, like, let's wait and see until after CMC comes back and whether or not that he's going to actually be good again, because this guy just can't seem to stay healthy. I just really feel like the rest of the NFL and the NFC has started to catch up. I mean, look at the Chiefs. The Bengals, I mean, we're going to talk about it. They struggled against the Bengals, who just laid an egg against the Patriots.
Yeah, very true. And speaking of the CMC injury, he is on IR, so he was expected to miss 4 games at minimum. Minnesota is one of them. Their next slate of games with this is going to be against the Rams, who have injury problems of their own right now, especially at wide receiver. The Patriots, who, listen, we've been sleeping on the Patriots, but they will make a game scrappy, I will admit. And the Arizona Cardinals, who are playing better than what we all probably expected.
Nobody expected that. They put up, 27 points on the damn, MHJ made a huge difference to that damn offense.
All I know is MHJ and Kyler Murray helped me win my fantasy league. So I am very grateful for that. But they also have a very difficult slate of games after that. Because then you're at Seattle, you're facing the Kansas City Chiefs, you're facing the Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay, who's another team that is basically like offensively, they're
Firepower.
picking up where they were last year. It's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers go without CMC and how do they make a run with everything that is going on in their locker room right now. Brandon Ayuk, I will say, you got paid, so it's time for you to start stepping up. And honestly, that defense, y'all need to hold it down because until CMC gets back, they're going to need you. For Minnesota, before we go on, just looking at their slate of games, next week, they got the Houston Texans. The Texans, they're going to really test you to see if you're really that good. They got the Packers, who's still waiting on Jordan Love to come back. They have the Jets, and then off their bye week, they got the Detroit Lions. So how do you think they're going to perform with this slate of game? Houston, Green Bay, Jets, Detroit.
I'm not really a big fan of the Jets. I think that they're very, very – you could get them. Like, I think that Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. I think Texans, it's going to be a toss-up. I'm actually giving a little bit more faith to this Vikings team. And you said who else? You said
Green Bay. So it's Houston,
Green Bay. Matt LaFleur has done a pretty damn good job with the Green Bay Packers in the absence of Jordan Love. And you said the Lions.
Yep,
man, that's another team that's going to be hard to beat. Like they're Super Bowl contenders. And when you got a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, if you think, man, this guy might eventually become the best pass rusher in the NFL because he's able to get to the passer at will.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest. I got Minnesota going
2-2, maybe
1-3 in these games, at best 2-2. Because I think they don't beat Houston. I think Green Bay, they'll squeak by. I think the Jets defense is what is going to get.
They suffer. They've been giving up a lot against the run. They've averaged over 120 yards against the run. So they can get exposed.
So that's going to be the iffy game for me, whether they go 1-3 or 2-2. And then Detroit, honestly, I think if it's not the Niners, I think Detroit's the team to beat in the NFC right now, especially after watching that Eagles game yesterday. So I got them being one that's like, yeah, they're going to take it. But we are going to move on to another team in the NFC East. Look, I'm a Giants fan. I had to watch a very horrendous loss against the Washington Commanders. And the only thing that made it feel okay is the fact that the Dallas Cowboys got whooped by the New Orleans Saints by a score of 44-19. And this was pretty much a case of Alvin Kamara taking whatever he wanted from this Dallas defense. 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, and then 2 catches for 65 yards and another touchdown. So if you had Alvin Kamara on your fantasy team, you more than likely won your week. So you better be writing him on Twitter and thanking him. Rob, I gotta ask you, what happened to this Dallas defense?
I do not know, but I guess Jerry Jones just thinks it's fine to just like not upgrade your roster in any capacity. I don't know. This is gonna be a very tricky season for the Dallas Cowboys because I predicted that they weren't gonna make the playoffs, and I'm gonna stand on that because I don't think I maybe the third best team in their division. I think it's CeeDee Lamb or bust at this point. When you have your running backs not being able to go over 40 yards 2 games in a row, you can't really win many games. But then you go look at the flip side of it. Then you got like a Saints team that's in the last 2 games they scored 91 points. So I don't know. I'll reserve my my opinion of Dallas until who they play this week. I don't know, but like I want to see how they respond to this game. But going back to the Saints, this Saints team, look, they played Carolina week 1. And they played Dallas week 2. I'm trying to see if they're actually the real deal because if we're going based off of, like I just said, the scoring total, the last time they scored close to this was 93 points, and that was 2009, and they won a Super Bowl. Now this is a difference of 15 years. It's a different league now, but Dear God, this Saints offense, especially Alvin Kamara, who had 3 touchdowns in the first half. For Christ's sake, he is a Alvin. Welcome back to the NFL, Alvin Kamara, because that man is a freaking beast.
To the running backs of the NFL, this is how we expect you to perform if you want to get paid, or after you get paid. After you
He's
get your
going to
money,
get a new contract after this year.
but you are right, because the Saints did this, I think, wasn't it last week they put up 30 points in the first half?
Yeah, it's the Panthers, though.
Yeah, I know it was the Panthers, but they put up 30 points in the first half last week. They put up 35 in the first half this week against the Dallas Cowboys. And you're asking about who the Cowboys face next week? It's the Baltimore Ravens. So
Yeah, but the Baltimore Ravens just got exposed by the Raiders, so I don't know. This is a very weird year. It's a very weird year. I don't know.
It's like all our expectations have pretty much been thrown into
like if you're in a survivor pool right now, I would like to know who's actually like still around, because there's actually no, unless you pick the Chiefs. Well, you can't pick the Chiefs again if you already. So yeah, it's a very I mean, my biggest thing though, if I'm going to go back to it, I think the Dak Prescott is holding the football way too freaking long, which is why he's sacked so many damn times. And then the other side of the coin, Derek Carr has all day in the pocket, all day, and when I mean, like, some of the throws this guy made were freaking incredible, and it goes to show you that, like, if Derek Carr don't pan out, at least he's performing, and then you got a Spencer Rattler just sitting on the bench, developing,
doing what he needs to do, develop,
take
learn.
notes, NFL.
And then you will be the next quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. It's kind of like when Drew Brees was doing his last season and Jameis was in the background. He said, Jameis, this is your team. We know that didn't pan out well, but maybe this is going to pan out, and that's the next era of New Orleans Saints football. But I got to ask you, because we're talking about the Saints. Mm-hmm. The Falcons just pulled off a comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got, outside of the Panthers, we have the Bucs. Is the NFC South just more entertaining than what we gave it credit so far?
You can only suck for so long, man. I'm serious. Like, at some point, you're gonna figure it out. I just don't know how the hell the Saints do it with like negative 80 million cap space. Like, whoever their GM is, I'm not saying he's doing a good job or a great job, but he seems to figure it out every year, and they seem to retain most of their talent. So. Yeah. Yeah,
like, listen, I'm one of those guys that, well, you've seen it. I've been in this team, like, always about cap space. Like, I care about the cap. I care about whether or not you have space. These guys right now only have $3.7 million in cap space right now. After this season, negative $81.4 million. And they're still going to find some way of moving money around and still going to have some way of bringing in talent. I don't know how New Orleans gets away with this the same way I don't know how Philadelphia does the same thing. 49ers. Except they don't go into negative. They just seem to find room. As for the next couple of weeks with these two teams, honestly, I think Baltimore possibly takes it against Dallas, because Dallas has been susceptible to the run. And the running game is simple, and I have been calling it since last year. Look where Micah Parsons is, and then just run at him, because he's going to be super aggressive trying to go after the pass that you're just going to be able to blow right by him. Pause, all that good stuff. But you have Baltimore Ravens against Dallas. Then with the Saints, we have them facing Philadelphia. Oh, so it's just an NFC East thing all throughout. I will definitely be paying attention to this game, because I think that the Philadelphia Eagles have a very big problem in their secondary. And
Saints are winning that game.
Yeah, very much. Saints are definitely winning that. And then I get to enjoy the tailspin of the Philadelphia Eagles, at least for the rest of that season. All right. I know we had to talk about it. We got what was supposed to be the rivalry of the generation between the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes against the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. Every time these two quarterbacks face off, we get a tight game.
Or a
And
controversial
we
call.
also got a tight game with some questionable, well, not necessarily a questionable call, but like, do you really call it in this situation? The Bengals lost to the Chiefs. And unfortunately for me, I want the Bengals to win this just because I don't like seeing dynasties win all the time. But Rob, I know you got a lot of opinions on this, specifically about one of these two quarterbacks. So I'm going to give you the floor here to.
Oh, I got both the quarterbacks. They both can get the fucking smoke. How do you go 2 of your last 3 possessions and you get a sack and you get a fumble, Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow, can you explain to me how the hell you're 1-9, 15 touchdowns and 12 turnovers in week 1 and 2 throughout your career? I don't know if I'm saying this enough, but is Joe? Can we pull the plug on Joe Burrow being the top 5 quarterback that everybody makes him out to be? You're 7-11 in your division. You are 29, 24-1 record overall. That sounds meddling. It's a tight race for the worst EPA. And you know who has the worst EPA? Bryce Young and Daniel Jones. Then is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow on 35 of his dropbacks has only been pressured 6 times. That's the 3rd lowest rate he's faced in his career. Like, where's the excuses now? I'm done hearing about how this guy's supposed to be this great talent and all these things, and then you don't perform when the lights are the brightest. I'm sorry. The recipe's in right there.
I don't know, but
seems like Drew Brees to me because you could go and put up 5,000 yards 4 seasons in a row and then finish 7-9 in those 4 seasons.
True. Look, I don't know, but this goes added to what you said earlier about this being a very weird season because I would expect fireworks from these two. And the stats really don't impress me. Joe Burrow, 23 of 36 for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good game for most quarterbacks, but if you're considered a top 5 quarterback, I need to see more. Patrick Mahomes, 18 of 25, only 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. This is what I consider not a good game, especially if you're considered the best quarterback in the league right now. But I am curious to know, what do you think is going to happen with the Chiefs specifically? Because Isaiah Pacheco is going to be missing some time. He's injured. I had to pick up some backup running backs. I got Carson Steele coming up on waiver wire just in case. But without their running game, how do you think this Chiefs team will run?
I don't know, man. When 11 out of your 18 pass attempts are behind the line of scrimmage, Patrick Mahomes. When since 2018, since you've been a starting quarterback, your overall yards after the catch has never finished lower than 3rd. 3rd. And you know what? Like, I cannot stand how this guy is hyped up so much as he is. The defenses are starting to catch up. I'm not saying he's not the best quarterback in football because he's won back-to-back Super Bowls. But I think Andy Reid needs to start getting his fucking flowers now. Like, right now. Because I get it. He didn't win the big game with Donovan McNabb. But he still made it to a fucking Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb. He just happened to run into one of the best defensive coordinators. Actually, the best defensive coordinator ever in Bill Belichick. Well, I'm tired of the glazing of Mahomes. I'm tired of the excuses for Mahomes. We're going to go and point out that PI attempt. I challenge anybody to go watch that line during that play. Hendricks was literally put in a chokehold. Like, literally. The guy had him like this, facing this way, and the guy had him like this. Like in a full Nelson, pretty much. We need to stop. Like, these referees need to be checked. And by the way, we want to hype up. That probably is a PI. But guess what? Every Hail Mary that's in a game, that's how the play goes. So, if you're going to throw the flag, during that play. Start throwing the flag during the Hail Mary play. And the reason why I bring that up is because, goddamn, I'm like really I'm like obsessed with the fact that our Gronk was hit in the end zone during the Eagles Super Bowl. But I'll neither here nor there. But
no,
let's stop with the favorite. Let's stop with the favorable calls.
No, we're gonna keep talking about this one because I wanted to talk about the whole PI issue with that, like last.
It should be reviewable. It should be reviewable.
Oh, you agree too? That PI should be reviewable?
PI should be reviewable because we can go back. Listen, I'll go back to the damn Patriots game. Jonathan Jones, that was not a PI. And guess what? Tyler Lockett came up to Jonathan Jones and said, "Hey man, that wasn't a PI." What the hell? These were no. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but like I'm on a tangent right now. If the players have to come and sit in front of a crowd of reporters and media analysts after a game and go and break down why a play went in a certain way, the refs should be held accountable the same exact fucking way. Hold them accountable. Question them. Question their thought process. Start fining them. Because this is bullshit. I don't know how many freaking plays I've seen where the damn flags are being thrown for Patrick Mahomes. He has had the most interceptions returned or reversed because of a penalty flag. And it's not even close. It's like 30, 40 interceptions he should have that were called back. Like this is getting to the point where like NFL, we're starting to figure out what, at least I am, what you're doing.
Oh no, we know what they're doing. We've had this playbook. They want the three-peat. They want Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl again because they want the viewership. Listen, if that is how the Super Bowl becomes, then we could say that we've called this before the season even started. But I want to go back into the whole thing about PIs and holding on defensive backs because, one, I do agree that they should be reviewable because a lot of these are bang-bang decisions that is really up to the discrepancy of the referee themselves. And I say this because over the last 2 weeks watching Giants games, I had to watch one get called on Adoree Jackson. That was not pass interference because he turned around and was playing the ball because he was in front of Jordan Addison. And then I had to see a holding call against Drew Phillips, who's our rookie nickel cornerback, after Zach Ertz bulldozed him after 5 yards, and they got called on the defense there. So I do think we need to go back to the days of when that 1 year where we had that pass interferences were reviewable. Yes, it takes extra time. Who cares? We need to make sure that the right call is being made. And during key game moments like last-second Hail Marys, I don't care if it's like an actual Hail Mary or it's just a last-second heave by the quarterback. Unless it's like the Saints one that he just basically bulldozed the dude to keep him from catching a ball, do not throw the flag in those moments.
Not Let even it play just out. That. These referees need to know the rule book. I don't think they do. If a ball is deemed uncatchable, that means that the ball's so far ahead of it and there's contact, I guess, as the ball sails over. That is not a PI.
True.
Marco Wilson versus the Seattle Seahawks Patriots. The ball was thrown way out of the end zone. The ball is not catchable. I get it. There was contact. But what the hell?
True. But unfortunately, when it comes to the Chiefs, we can all say it. Like, all of us that are not Chiefs fans do notice that they do get a lot of favorable treatment when it comes to calls through referees. It's the same thing. No offense, Rob, because I know you're a Patriots fan. It's the same thing we saw with the Brady days with the Patriots. They did get some calls that also went their way. And that's what happens when, like, you're the marquee franchise of the league.
Since 2018, 47% of Mahomes' passes are yards after the catch. 47%. Brother, I got the stat right here. Like, Andy Reid needs to be given his flowers. Like, I'll crown. You can give Mahomes whatever credit you want to give him, but Andy Reid needs to start be given because he just needed the right quarterback. Alex Smith is very conservative, not going to be able to do it. I think Donovan McNabb just happened to run into the Patriots, and especially Terrell Owens was on one leg.
And hey, listen, one leg Terrell Owens was still better than most wide receivers.
Yeah, I believe he had like a screw in his leg to play that Super Bowl. But yeah, I look, man, I'll be on this hill all day. I think Mahomes is severely overrated, and I think he's the best quarterback in football. I'm not gonna hype him up like I'm not gonna be Chris Collinsworth. Like, god damn, bro, he caught his own football after almost throwing an interception. Congrats, you almost threw an interception.
Yeah, well, as you can see, we got our rant out when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. That was all the topics we have, but Rob, I need to ask you about one more thing because we do got Thursday Night Football coming up, and it's your team playing. The Patriots are going up against the Jets, 8:15 p.m. Thursday night in MetLife Stadium. What are you expecting to see in this game?
I think the Jets, if they cannot stop the run, especially with our rushing attack, which, by the way, is one of the best in the NFL. I think we're like 5th right now in yards. You're in trouble. And it's Jacoby Brissett has not really put the ball in harm's way. And I'm not really scared of Aaron Rodgers. I'm not. I think that roster is old as well as injury prone. So, and it's going to be at MetLife. And I think the pressure is going to get to Aaron Rodgers. Chalk it up as a W. Call it as I see it. I don't think they're going to be able to stop our rushing attack.
So what you're telling me is I'm making a good decision by still having Ramondre Stevenson starting for this week because that.
I mean, brother, we went against the Seattle Seahawks with our 32nd ranked offensive line, and he still ripped off how many yards? 70 yards.
Yeah.
Our rushing attack ran for 180 yards.
Yep.
Ramondre had 120 plus yards the first game. Look, I'm not going to say he's going to get 100 yards, but I think you should start him. He just needs to hold on to the football because God forbid he almost coughed up one, which he seems to have a little bit of that towards the latter portion of games. He needs to freaking correct that.
Look, he could be like Devin Singletary and actually get the ball punched out like what happened to us. But I expect to see an interesting game. We're either going to see the Jets be exposed how they are because
they're getting exposed. Aaron Rodgers is throwing 2 picks at least.
Yeah, because I've seen the way the Jets have been playing, specifically Aaron Rodgers. He just does not look comfortable in the pocket. Like, he looks like a statue being there, kind of like how Ben Roethlisberger was his last year in the NFL, where it's just like standing there, and if the pass rush can get home, he's going to have a long night.
Is this their home opener?
No, I think week 1 was their home opener. No, I think – hold on. I can confirm that for you right now. Actually, yes.
You don't think I'm not saying this is gonna happen. You don't think for a second that's gonna be in his head?
Because the last time they had a home opener, he got injured.
4 plays, and he got hurt.
Possibly.
I'm just saying, man. Like, at the end of the day, I think Rodgers can't handle the New York media, and now this is where the downfall happens.
Look, I'm just looking forward to seeing Garrett Wilson versus Gonzo. I love when it's like number 1 receivers and number 1 corners get after each other.
Gonzo has only given up 150 yards in the 6 receivers he's gone against, and Garrett Wilson's one of those guys that he's I think he got like 2 catches on him. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's like Garrett Wilson is not DK Metcalf. By the way, Gonzo didn't get burned on that play. That Gonzo was playing zone. That was Duggar's assignment. And that's why that 56-yard touchdown happened. All the people that are getting on Gonzo about that. When Gonzo only gave up 3 catches for 20-something yards to DK Metcalf. But let me look it up. Gonzo versus Garrett Wilson. I'm pretty sure he only gave up maybe 2 catches to Garrett Wilson.
Possibly. I'm not even entirely sure. That's why when it comes to the AFC East,
2 catches for 5 yards.
That is just amazing. 2 catches.
He's gonna put him in a box.
Well, we can't wait to see that on Thursday Night Football. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is all the time that we have here at the Gridiron. Once again, brought to you by your favorite people over at House Call Sports. I'm Justin. That's Rob. Do us a favor. Leave a like. Follow us. We're on all your social media platforms, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Spotify's, all that good stuff.
Hey, another thing. Holy shit. 3,000 freaking followers in one day on Facebook. Jesus.
Y'all are amazing for doing that. when Rob gave us that announcement, it was like, what?
I had to like refresh my feed because I couldn't believe it. We gained 3,500 followers on freaking Facebook yesterday.
And it is all because of y'all. So keep smashing those follow buttons, those like buttons, and do us a favor. Hit the links down below in our description to all of our amazing sponsors. And we will see you guys next time.